Hey people, what's going on? How you doing? My name is Danny Matthews, for those who don't know who the heck I am. Today we're going to be talking about cinematic color grading in Adobe Premiere. I strive my hardest to make you guys better video editors in every aspect, and color grading is definitely one of those things. I know more focused on a colorist aspect, but it is really good to have this tool in your arsenal. So we're going to be going over color grading for that reason. If you don't know anything about color grading, refer back to this video here and you can kind of get a basics on just log color grading and how to do a basic correction. But I'll also quickly just go over basic correction. But today I really want to focus in on specialized cinematic color grading. Let's get into it. All right guys, let's jump into Adobe Premiere. So my layout is going to look a little bit different from yours. I'm going to have my timeline down here. My tools are on the left side here. My project and my effects window is going to be up here. My source panel with the clip will be here, effects control, and then the source of the program of what it's seeing is going to be here. So here I've already selected my footage. I have my two clips here that I want, and what we're going to do is go over to our color. And in here, this is where we're going to start doing our basic correction. So I already did a little bit of quick basic correction to make sure that my whites aren't clipping and that my blacks are all good, and raise the shadow a little bit. First things first, we're going to go ahead and create an adjustment layer. Go ahead and bring that adjustment layer onto our footage. We're going to go ahead and split this between the two so it's different. We know it's only for this clip. Here we're going to go ahead and do our basic correction. We can see that we have a little bit of blue in our highlights up here, and then in our white we don't naturally have a white. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is bring this toggle over until we get some white into our whites here. And as you can see on my scope here, we have all white where white needs to be. When we were shooting this video, it wasn't perfect white balance by any means, so we have a little bit, as you can see on this scope, a little bit of blue in this corner up here. But after we finish that basic correction, what we're going to do after that is go into his skin tone. So go ahead and copy the same exact layer, and what you're going to do is delete this color. And the easiest way to really capture his color and make sure it's where it needs to be, we're going to go under effects control underneath our footage. Underneath our footage, we're going to go ahead and click on the opacity and make sure that we have our highlights and our shadows selected in his face. Once we have that, go to Lumiscopes and go under your color for his face, and we're going to make sure that it's lying exactly where it needs to be. And as we can see, it actually is pretty much perfect. We got this on 70 and this is around 60 for the shadows, and his color is just a little bit toward the red though. So what we're going to do is go to our curves and make sure that it is pure orange. So I like to go ahead and put an anchor on each side, and then when I grab my orange, I just go ahead and slowly move that over until it is over our line that it needs to be. So that looks about good. After we're done with that, go ahead and shut off your mask layer and you can see what the results are. So now we are where we need to be for all basic correction, and now this is where the fun part comes in for cinematic color grading. What you're going to do is go ahead and duplicate another layer on top, and what you're going to do is delete that lumimetry color as well, and we're going to jump into this and have some fun with it. I like to have this a little bit more desaturated, and for more cinematic feel, we're going to have it a little bit more desaturated. So we can bring this down to like 90 or 95, in between there. You can even go as far as down to 80 depending how saturated your footage is. Once this kind of starts adding some contrast, which we'll be adding quite a bit, that is going to start adding some more saturation as well. So on here, let's go ahead and start adding a little bit of contrast up here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mess with our shadows. And honestly, for these shadows, I like to have them down here under the 40 and in the 30 range, pushing to the bottom of 20, because this is going to add a lot of contrast between the light. And we're just going to raise the highlights just a little bit. I'm going to have it peak right here about 80. La 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 la. Just a heads up, this is a intermission, just to make sure that you're still alive and paying attention. So let's jump back into the video. So now that we're good for the light, this is a super cinematic feel right here that we're getting like a lot of contrast. We can even bring down the shadows a little bit more if that's something that you guys want. We're even going to touch the blacks just to the 0 point right here. Make sure we're not crushing them too much. And then what we're going to do, this one's going to be a lot more fun, is we're going to come in here into our color, and this is where we're going to have like a really cinematic feel, and where you might have like a stylistic. You can add here, would be a good time to add in your LUTs and whatever that may look like, but we're not going to use a LUT today. Today we're going to do this all ourselves and color grade it all by ourselves. Right here is a perfect opportunity to do a teal and orange, as you can see on the scope. So we're already really close. We have a lot of blue and we have a lot of orange, and that's literally just it in this image. So what we're going to do is go ahead and go into our hue and versus hue curve. Go ahead and put anchors on where this blue is, and what we're do is grab the middle and just go ahead and push where the blue needs to be to get it to that teal. And we're gonna grab these a little bit too. And whatever colors you need to just push them around and get it to where it needs to be. So that's gonna be a perfect teal and orange right there. As you can see, our before and after. And here we're going to do our final touch for our cinematic tone and our cinematic image here. And our curves here has a lot more control over our color and lighting, and will add a lot more depth and feel to this than what we can do on just our basic correction. So what we're going to do is, I still want just a little bit more contrast, so we're going to pull this down here. And it's good to really pull in here for our shadows, in the middle for our midtones, and up here towards our highlights. As you can see on here, there's actually lines through here, and it's not a bad idea to really just kind of hold to those lines. But if you're trying to get a more creative feel, sometimes you can alter those. So what we're going to do is just add a little bit of highlights here, really bringing in back here a little bit of a mist on his cheek, which looks really nice. And here for our highlights, I think we're just going to maybe touch it. And honestly, right there is perfect for me. And as I said, this is a very creative process, and you're going to go to a certain point where you just feel comfortable with this image. One last thing, guys, you definitely don't have to add this. I like adding this in a lot of my footage, is coming in here to your sharpening and go ahead and just push this up to like 12 or 15. So this was actually shot in 8-bit footage, and you can see that I can use a lot more sharpening. And if we just toggle and untoggle that, you can see that it's just super slight on the edges here and on his eyelids, but it adds a lot more detail than most people think. Honestly, I don't even know if you can see on the YouTube compression. I hope you can, but just a little bit of sharpening onto any of these images is always a great practice to have for your filing touch. But just kind of a guidance for you is use your gut on this. Subtle movements in any kind of color grading goes a lot further than most think. So don't go crazy with it. There's nothing crazy that you need to add. As you can see, this image looks freaking cinematic. So just a quick review on what we did here. We did a basic correction to bring everything to a neutral balance. And then we went ahead and did our white balance here. And after that, we did our skin tone. And then we did our creative color grading and a little bit of lighting as well. And the little things before it actually make it go a long way. If we were to take off those little adjustments that I made before, you can see that it alters this image significantly. So I don't want to have this video go too long, so I'm just going to show just this clip, and we're going to just go ahead and avoid this one. But guys, that is in a nutshell how to make a cinematic grade on your image. So guys, that is how you do a cinematic grade in Adobe Premiere. If you have any questions whatsoever in your mind, just go ahead and throw it into the comment section. I'll get back to you guys on that. If you guys want me to do more tutorials like this with color grading, let me know and I'll do more of those. In this channel, as you already know, I do focus on video editing and make you the best video editor that you can be.